Hey, what's going on, everybody? This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. So today I am going to be dealing with a topic about ayahuasca, which is a type of tea, a herb, and we're going to be talking about psychedelic today. So today it's going to be about psychedelic, psychedelic and LSD, shrooms, and ayahuasca, and also various form of those things and how that it has an impact on somebody's neurological components and spiritual journey, etc. And we're gonna also be talking about marijuana. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about those kind of things. But I have a friend of mine who's here. He's going to give me some insight from his personal experience. I never tried LSD or psychedelic or shroom or ayahuasca or anything like that. I never tried those things before. So, but he has tried psychedelic before, and he's gonna tell me his experience. He's gonna tell me what it is, and I'm gonna be asking him some questions. I'm gonna share some books and some sources or whatnot. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring my friend on here. All right. Hey, brother Desjon, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. What about you? What's going on, sis?
Nothing much. So I want to get into the topic about does ayahuasca works for social anxiety, and also we're gonna be talking some more about psychedelic and how it does something to the neurological components and as far as like, the mind functioning, things like that, and spirituality. So what I want to do is I want to share this article. And as a matter of fact, I shared the article with you. This article right here is what inspired me to do this subject matter.
Oh, okay.
Let me go ahead and get the article up. All right. So right here, if you can see that article, it's called "A Single Dose of Ayahuasca Improves Self-Perception of Speech Performance in Socially Anxious People," study finds. So going down here, it says the psychedelic brew known as ayahuasca could help improve the self-perception of those with social anxiety disorder, according to a controlled proof of concept study recently published in the Journal of Clinical Psychopharmacology. It said ayahuasca, a concoction used for centuries by indigenous Amazon tribes, contains the powerful psychedelic drug, which is the DMT and monoamine iodide inhibitors. Preliminary research has offered some evidence that ayahuasca provides psychological benefits for individuals suffering from anxiety and depression. Social anxiety disorder is a prevalent, underdiagnosed anxiety disorder with limited treatment options, said study author Rafael Gomares dos Santos, a postdoctoral fellow at Ribados Preto Medical School at the University of Sao Paulo. All right, and then also goes to say that social anxiety disorder is characterized by anxiety during social events such as public speaking, eating, talking to other people. Also, social anxiety patients show a negative bias towards their social performance. They believe their performance will be ineffective, limiting, and will be judged by other people. And it says, in some cases, this could lead to avoidance of the social situation and certainly interfere with the daily activity of these patients. Dos Santos said, ayahuasca, besides having antidepressant and anxiolytic potentials, could maybe change this negative cognitive bias since its performance enhancing properties have been described anecdotally. All right, so I'm just going to stop right there because I want to give you a chance to talk, and then I'll go back to the article. All right, so now remember I had showed you that article, right? And did you look into it?
Yeah, actually, I was reading it today, as a matter of fact. And I do agree with a lot of things that was saying, especially about the psychedelic DMT. The DMT actually is naturally found in the brain. They did an actual study where mice, they actually tested it on mice, and it shows that their third eye, their pineal gland, was actually activated as they were taking it. So, like I said, that particular the DMT, they try to make it seem like it's a drug and whatnot, but actually, that particular psychedelic actually helps you to activate your pineal gland, your third eye. And the experience that I had with it was amazing. Like, well, at
Okay.
first I thought it was like it was have you hallucinating, but after that, it's like I had an out of body experience out of this world. It's like I felt like I was actually traveling to certain places.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah.
So now, for those who may not know what shroom and ayahuasca and LSD is, can't you explain it to the people?
Well, mostly with psychedelics, it's mostly like, especially with ayahuasca, it's actually used in various like ceremonies in the South America. Like it's best to do it with an experienced shaman, which I actually happen to know one personally myself. We actually go through ceremonies and actually do certain chants and stuff. And it actually helps fix your neurons in your brain and so forth. And I mean, I wouldn't recommend nobody to do it unless they actually has a shaman with them that's actually experienced with it, that's actually can assist you in whatever you're going through. So that's the recommendation I would take when it comes to doing that. Now, as far as LSD is concerned, I never really experienced LSD, but I hear that it sort of has like similar effects to it, but there actually has a lot of health benefits when it comes to ayahuasca and the DMT that's contained within it.
Okay. So now let's because there was a question that was brought to my attention, and I want to be able to ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, how would you compare ayahuasca to peyote, shrooms, LSD, or even weed, and in terms of effects, benefits, and drawbacks?
Well, they say that ayahuasca can actually induce vomiting. That's basically like that's basically cleansing your body out of any type of impurities that might be contained within it. As far as the comparison when it comes to marijuana or hemp or weed, whatever you want to refer to as, it actually relaxes you in the sense of like when you're in the ceremony, it's like you actually being like it calms you down and actually has you going to like different places. Like I actually felt as though I was in the pyramids in Kemet. Like I actually saw, like I was actually saying Amun Ra's name and all of that.
Wow. So how long does it last? How long does this effect last on you?
Well, it usually kicks in around 20 to 30 minutes, but they said the trip usually lasts like 2 to 6 hours. It depends on whether you smoke the DMT or whether you actually drink the ayahuasca tea. But the ayahuasca tea is like 2 to 6 hours, and approximately probably an hour, 1 or 2 hours when you smoke the DMT.
Wow. You said, okay, so it lasts 2 to 6 hours.
Yeah. When you're in the ceremony, when you're in a typical ceremony, yeah, about 2 to 6 hours approximately.
Okay. So are you practicing any form of spiritual system that's associated with that? Like, because you were saying shaman. So are you practicing shamanism or you're not?
Well, I'm a spiritual person. I wouldn't necessarily tie myself to any religion, but I do
Right.
practice spirituality. I do believe in like doing like meditating with gemstones and crystals, and also drinking the ayahuasca tea to go into a ceremony. That's what I particularly do.
Okay. So how long was you drinking the ayahuasca tea? Like how long ago did you start it again?
Well, I started probably around like I would say around like April sometime. We would do like little ceremonies and stuff, and then the shaman would actually play certain like music, just to keep us calm, to keep us in a certain spiritual realm. But as far as like I said, doing it, I would just recommend that you always have a shaman to keep you calm in case you might face anxiety or you might face some type of euphoria.
Oh, you going out?
Yeah.
You going out? What was you saying? What was the last thing that you said?
Like I said, I would recommend that you have like a shaman with you in case you're going through some type of anxiety or euphoria or any type of negative effect that might occur while you're doing it.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So do you do it very often, or you just do it just out the blue? You just did
Well,
that.
I just do it mostly doing ceremonies, like probably maybe the weekend sometimes. I don't really do it often, but I just whenever I do it, I have a wonderful experience every time.
Okay. Okay. Now there's some people that's nervous about it. I mean, I know you said
Yeah.
that you need a shaman there. There's people like myself, that's nervous because when I think of LSD and shroom and the ayahuasca tea, I'm thinking about the actual drugs. I'm comparing it to like drugs like Molly's and all of that stuff, like
No,
those illicit drugs. I'm like, I don't
no,
know.
it's no effect like that. Like I said, it's like, I mean, when I was on it, basically had me like, I mean, you're going to see like stars and shapes and so forth. Like, I mean, but it's actually like leading you to a spiritual realm and enlightenment that you really never experienced before once you do it.
Wow, wow, that's powerful. So let's go back to the article real fast. Hold on, let me. All right, so let's go to the article real fast. Now let me ask you this: have you had any form of social anxiety at first?
Mm, what you mean like social anxiety? Like being when I'm around people, like do I have any type
Like
of like?
just in general, do you have like any type of social anxiety disorder? Like,
Mm,
you're not like good at, interacting with people, or
oh no,
you
I'm not. Nah, I'm good at interacting with people. Like I mean,
right, like do you
although I
get
am,
like real tense up and nervous all the time and stuff like that? Like,
nah, I
no.
am a very introverted person. But when I do get in
Mhm.
contact with people, I do like to socialize and talk about various topics. So and I've never had no issue with that.
Okay. Okay. So let's see what this article is talking about.
Okay.
Now, it says in a double-blind study, 17 volunteers who had been diagnosed with social anxiety disorder were randomly assigned to the ayahuasca treatment group or a placebo group. The researchers followed a careful screening process which excluded potential volunteers with previous experience with ayahuasca, a current or past history of cardiovascular, liver, or neurological disease, a current psychiatric disorder except for the anxiety disorder, a current use of any psychiatric medication, and a recurrent use of drugs of abuse. Now it says after receiving a dose of ayahuasca or placebo, the volunteers remained seated in a comfortable reclining chair and were instructed to remain as quiet as introspective as possible with your eyes open or closed while focusing on your body, thoughts, and emotions. About 5 hours later, after the acute effects of the drug had worn off, the volunteers completed an anxiety-inducing public speaking test in which they were given 2 minutes to prepare a 4-minute speech in front of a camera. The task we use is a validated measure to induce anxiety and to assess the volunteers' performance, Dos Santos said. The researchers did not find a statistically significant reduction in subjective anxiety symptoms in those who ingest ayahuasca compared to those who had ingest the placebo. The sample size was small and volunteers had a low baseline anxiety level. Thus, some non-significant result should be the result of these factors, Dos Santos explains. But ayahuasca ingestion was associated with improvements in self-perception of speech performance. And then it goes on to say, we showed that a single dose of ayahuasca improved the self-perception of performance during a public speaking task, which is associated with poor performance by social anxiety patients. Moreover, ayahuasca was well tolerated in this population, opening the door for further clinical trials in this and other anxiety disorder. This is the first controlled trial of a classic hallucinogen in this population, Dos Santo told Psych Post. Now, if you guys want to read up more information about this, this is psychpost.org. psychpost.org, and it's called A Single Dose of Ayahuasca Improves Self-Perception of Speech, Performance, and Social Anxiety Anxious People, study finds. All right, and this is by Eric W. Dolan. All right, so you guys can just go on here, just find out more information. Now let's talk about medical research. All right, and the medical field as far as like use as medication. Why do you think that something like ayahuasca and shroom are not used in the medical field to like help deal with things that associate with anxiety disorder or any neurological disorder?
Well, my personal opinion is that they don't like to use certain certain stuff that's not really that's not in a medical field that actually the FDA approves of. And like I said, this is the personal opinion of mine. I just feel as though they don't really want us to use certain like medications that can actually help us to cure ourselves. Because that the medical establishment is like a billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry, where it's actually they basically want to keep you sick. They basically want to keep you going to them and spending money instead of actually curing the disease. They basically just curing the symptoms. And like for hemp or marijuana, for example, like basically they actually made it illegal because it will put the paper in. It'll put the paper companies and the wood companies out of business. So basically, like I feel as though they don't want us to do any type of thing that's not approved by the FDA. It's not approved by the mainstream outlets.
Well, don't you think these things are better alternatives than the drugs that are used on the street, like opiums and mollies and Percocets and all of that? Don't you think those things are like better alternatives to those drugs? In your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they would be a better alternative as far as actually fixing the neurons in your brain and actually helping you to have more cognitive skills, actually helping you with depression, and also the study also showed that it actually helps you with substance abuse as well. Helps you to cure yourself from like any type of substance abuse that you might be going through at the time.
Okay. All right. So now I have another article I want to show and I want to present. So this article here, I'm about to post up. It's called Mushrooms Have Minds. All right. So I know you've seen this article here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's called Mushroom. The website is mindmatters.ai. All right. It's called Mind Matters News. That's where this article is coming from. It says, mushrooms have minds. Well, if you doubt humans are exceptional. All right. So it says, it is a short step to thinking a mushroom has mind. A Miami University biologist has taken that step. This came out September the 1st of 2021. It said it is pretty darn daring to claim that mushrooms have minds, but in the light of what we have learned about plant communication, we should perhaps pause a moment to at least listen. Miami University biologist Thomas P. Money argues. So let's see. There's a clip on here where you can listen to the audio, but anyways, I don't know where it's at. But anyways, let's go further down. It says that given the magical reputation of the fungi, claiming that they might be conscious is dangerous territory for a credentialed scientist. But in recent years, a body of remarkable experiments have shown that fungi operates as individuals engaged in decision making, are capable of learning, and possesses short-term memory. These findings highlight the spectacular sensitivity of such simple organism and situate the human version of the mind with a spectrum of consciousness that might well span the entire natural world. All right, so I'm gonna just stop right there. What do you think of that so far? Hey, Chris, how you doing? Long time. Hey, Mr. Chris, how you doing there? My bad. I'm sorry. Continue. Did you hear
Okay.
my question?
Now, what was your question again?
Okay, so after reading this article about mushrooms having mind or consciousness, what do you think? Just looking at this paragraph alone, let me go ahead and zoom it up for you so you can see it for yourself.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, let me go ahead and zoom it up for you. All right, so can you see it?
Yeah.
All right. So now just looking at this paragraph right here, what do you think so far? What is your thought on that? About
Well, like I said before, that certain medications they try to put in the medical establishment, like in the pharmaceutical industry, they don't really have the certain like effects that like doing some mushrooms. You know that I feel as though they really can assist you like decision making, help you with your cognitive skills, better memory, retainment, especially when you're trying to retain certain information. So I feel as though like I said before, you really have to have a shaman or either have an experienced person that's actually with you, has actually experienced. They can actually assist you with doing this particular,
right.
doing particular like medicine.
Okay. So now by let's just put it like this. All right. Let's say the mushrooms, right, are
Mm-hmm.
considered organism because they are a fungi, and the
Yeah.
fungi is a form of bacteria, right?
Mm-hmm.
So which is consists of the prokaryotic cells and things like that. Now, by this being an organism, all right, are you familiar with panpsychism?
No, I'm not familiar with that. No.
Okay, then. Okay. So, in a sense, by it being an organism, right, and being able to function and carry out the components that it carries, especially when it comes to, the psychedelic experience, right, it would be safe to say that it may have some form of consciousness to it, or it has a consciousness of its own, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Let's see what else this article is talking about. Um, so it says, wait, the ability to process information is not consciousness. If it were, your laptop would be conscious, but it isn't. And giving the laptop more power or memory would never make it so. So it says, going down, it says things continue going wrong for mindful mushrooms as money continues. And that's the name of the author who wrote this book right here. It says, before we explore the evidence for fungal intelligence, we need to consider the slippery vocabulary of cognitive science. Consciousness implies awareness, evidence of which might be expressed in an organism responsiveness or sensitivity to its surrounding. There is an implicit hierarchy here with consciousness present in a smaller subset of species while sensitivity applies to every living thing. Until recently, most philosophers and scientists awarded consciousness to big brained animals, excluding others forms of life from this honor. It says the problem with this favoritism, as the cognitive psychologist Arthur Rubber has pointed out, is that it is impossible to identify a threshold level of awareness or responsiveness that separates conscious animals from the unconscious. We can't escape this dilemma. However, once we allow ourselves to identify different versions of consciousness across a continuum of species, from apes to amoebias, that's not to imply that all organisms possess rich emotional lives and are capable of thinking, although fungi do appear to express the biological rudiments of these faculties. So now, after reading this, what do you think so far?
Well, I do think that like you said, various different organisms can have like certain consciousness, and also it can basically increase the level of awareness and cognitive abilities when it comes to actually using the brain. As far as like I said before, fixing your neurons, actually fixing your neurological thoughts and so forth.
Okay. Okay then. So I have a video that I want to that I'm going to play. That's that pretty much helps clarify the idea about psychedelic and ayahuasca. So as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and find the video real fast. All right, so this video comes from Vice. All right, so let me go ahead and play the video real fast from Vice. And it's only like 4 minutes long, but all right. So you're gonna have to put yourself on mute, so that way we can be able to hear the video together.
All right, cool.
All right. All right, so this is the testimony of the people who have done ayahuasca, and they explain how it helps them throughout their personal lives, etc., and how it helps them to be able to overcome their depression and all that. So they're giving their personal testimonies.
In a town in the Tarragona province, once a month they organize a spiritual retreat where the objective is healing and the main therapy is taking ayahuasca. It's not only used in shamanism as a healing plant, but also by the scientific community who investigates it for therapeutic purposes. Hola. Anna's a shaman and has been in touch with the spiritual world throughout her life. She comes from a family of spiritualist women, and she started with shamanism 15 years ago, accompanying and helping all those initiating in ayahuasca.
Las personas se van a encontrar un ambiente familiar, cordial, humano. Creo que una parte para que una persona se pueda curar, hay una parte muy importante de humanidad, de que se les escuche y se les acompañe de verdad.
May is 33 years old and from Colombia. Today, he will try ayahuasca for the first time.
Mi intención con la toma de la ayahuasca es poder resolver temas del pasado, temas conflictivos conmigo mismo que me impiden llevar a cabo un día a día mucho mejor y mejorar las relaciones familiares, que han sido la causa que me ha traído.
In the United States, the active ingredient in ayahuasca is a controlled substance, but the drug has been approved for sacramental use by some religions. In Spain, due to a lack of clarity in the law, its use for therapeutic purposes or otherwise is permitted.
Nosotros creemos que la ayahuasca puede tener un efecto antidepresivo y que podría ser útil en el tratamiento de depresiones que no responden a ningún otro tratamiento convencional. En segundo lugar, no es una sustancia que genere adicción y, por el contrario, creemos que su administración podría ayudar a personas que tienen adicciones a sustancias como alcohol, heroína, cocaína, a abandonar estos consumos.
Todo esto se hace por un acto, primero de necesidad de curación, segundo por unas grandes ansias espirituales interiores de encontrarse bien y tercero por confianza. El 100% de las personas que nos vienen es por confianza, porque por lo que sea confiaron en nosotros.
¿Y el objetivo de un retiro espiritual como este cuál es?
La curación física, mental, espiritual y emocional.
Before taking ayahuasca, attendants carry out a cleansing ritual. Jose is Anna's partner and also the one in charge of preparing the indigenous remedies and cooking ayahuasca a few days before the retreat.
Todo lo que vas a ver es sobre ti. Problemas familiares, problemas con la pareja, problemas en el trabajo. Todo eso que tenemos dentro te lo saca y te lo muestra desde otro punto de vista. Esto lo que hace es romper tu ego y ver lo que estás haciendo mal.
Estoy tomando un tabaco que se llama cachinagua, que proviene de Brasil y es una mezcla entre rapé y más de 20 plantas, todo ello molido, y el chamán, en este caso José, te lo introduce por la nariz y tú sientes una purga inmediata.
Para poder llegar a entrar al trance, la clave es dejarse llevar por la música y el momento en que veáis un punto de color, cualquier imagen, por muy pequeña que sea, seguirlo con la mente, con la mirada.
A los 30 minutos empezó a hacer un efecto fuerte. De repente todo empezó a distorsionar. Las ganas y la sensación de querer vomitar fue fuerte. Empezaron a bombardearme imágenes y personas, sobre todo personas de la familia. Las chicas, las asistentes que nos han acompañado, se convirtieron en personas de mi familia y personas que al parecer con las que tengo una carga. Sabía que venía ello y sabía que me tendría que enfrentar a los miedos. Un viaje difícil. No digo malo, solamente duro.
All right, so those people were sharing their experiences of dealing with the ayahuasca, and as you can see, there was some who were very calm, and there was some who felt very relaxed, and there was those who just let all the emotions out, and let all the tears, and just relieve themselves. So, Desjon, what you guys say about that?
Well, like I said, different people have different experiences with it. Well, my experience, like I said, it was sort of relaxing, you know. I mean, like I said, I had out of body experiences out of this world, and I had saw different shapes. Like it was conveying the message to me, but it's like I really couldn't decipher it at the time. I couldn't decode the message, but it really helps you to really relax and basically puts you in a trance where you actually feel as though you in a whole different world, like one of the best feelings in the world. And actually, the boxer Mike Tyson, actually he had an experience with it too. You should check that video out on YouTube whenever you get a chance, where he had an experience of it that actually he basically explains like it feels as though it's like you asking when is it gonna go away? When is it gonna go away? But when it actually does, and you actually in the calm state, you actually it's one of the best feelings in the world.
Okay. So does it take you into a retrospect? Meaning, does it take you back into time, back into all the way when you was a child, all the way up to now? Like, does it take your mind far back?
Well, like I said, different people have different experiences. It might take some people back.
Did it take you back personally?
It didn't take me back. But like I said, certain people have different various experiences when it comes to it. It basically just had me it reveals stuff to you that you never thought that you would ever imagine. Actually, it also helps like solve certain problems in your life as well. Like you're going through certain depression or you're going through certain anxiety, it actually relieves and alleviates that.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. Wow, that's very interesting. So, all right. So let me just go ahead and play a video from TED Talks. Now, TED Talks is one of the videos that I like to watch because it's a lot of educational things going on. They have people from various fields of studies, people from psychologists, people from biologists, writers, you name them all. They all come on TED Talks. So I want to play this one video because I was in the process of looking at this video here. And I'm not going to play all of it, but it's by Rick Dublin. It's called The Future of Psychedelic Assisted Psychotherapy. Okay. So I'm only going to play probably like the first 5 minutes of it. If you can see that screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it comes from TEDTalks.com. All right, so let's go ahead and let's just play the first 5 minutes of this video.
Preparing for this talk has been scarier for me than preparing for LSD.
Oh, put yourself on mute.
Psychedelics are to the study of the mind what the microscope is to biology and the telescope is to astronomy. Dr. Stanislav Grof spoke those words. He's one of the leading psychedelic researchers in the world, and he's also been my mentor. Today, I'd like to share with you how psychedelics, when used wisely, have the potential to help heal us, help inspire us, and perhaps even to help save us. In the 1950s and 60s, psychedelic research flourished all over the world and showed great promise for the fields of psychiatry, psychology and psychotherapy, neuroscience, and the study of mystical experiences. But psychedelics leaked out of the research settings and began to be used by the counterculture and by the anti-Vietnam War movement. And there was unwise use. And so there was a backlash. And in 1970, the US government criminalized all uses of psychedelics, and they began shutting down all psychedelic research. And this ban spread all over the world and lasted for decades. And it was tragic, since psychedelics are really just tools, and whether their outcomes are beneficial or harmful depend on how they're used. Psychedelic means mind manifesting, and it relates to drugs like LSD, psilocybin, mescaline, iboga, and other drugs. When I was 18 years old, I was a college freshman. I was experimenting with LSD and mescaline, and these experiences brought me in touch with my emotions. And they helped me have a spiritual connection that, unfortunately, my bar mitzvah did not produce. When I wanted to tease my parents, I would tell them that they drove me to psychedelics because my bar mitzvah had failed to turn me into a man. But most importantly, psychedelics gave me this feeling of our shared humanity, of our unity with all life. And other people reported that same thing as well. And I felt that these experiences had the potential to help be an antidote to tribalism, to fundamentalism, to genocide and environmental destruction. And so I decided to focus my life on changing the laws and becoming a legal psychedelic psychotherapist. Now, half a century after the ban, we're in the midst of a global renaissance of psychedelic research. Psychedelic psychotherapy is showing great promise for the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, depression, social anxiety, substance abuse, and alcoholism, and suicide. Psychedelic psychotherapy is an attempt to go after the root causes of the problems with just relatively few administrations, as contrasted to most of the psychiatric drugs used today that are mostly just reducing symptoms and are meant to be taken on a daily basis. Psychedelics are now also being used as tools for neuroscience to study brain function and to study the enduring mystery of human consciousness. And psychedelics and the mystical experiences they produce are being explored for their connections between meditation and mindfulness, including a paper just recently published about lifelong Zen meditators taking psilocybin in the midst of a meditation retreat and showing long-term benefits and brain changes. Now, how do these drugs work? Modern neuroscience research has demonstrated that psychedelics reduce activity in what's known as the brain's default mode network. This is where we create our sense of self. It's our equivalent to the ego, and it filters all incoming information according to our personal needs and priorities. When activity is reduced in the default mode network, our ego shifts from the foreground to the background, and we see that it's just part of a larger field of awareness. It's similar to the shift Copernicus and Galileo were able to produce in humanity using the telescope to show that the Earth was no longer the center of the universe, but was actually something that revolved around the sun, something bigger than itself. For some people, this shift in awareness is the most important and among the most important experiences of their lives. They feel more connected to the world bigger than themselves. They feel more altruistic, and they lose some of their fear of death. Not all drugs work this way. MDMA, also known as ecstasy or Molly, works fundamentally different. And I'll be able to share with you the story of Marcella, who suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder from a violent sexual assault. Marcella and I were introduced in 1984 when MDMA was still legal, but it was beginning also to leak out of therapeutic circles. Marcella had tried MDMA in a recreational setting, and during that, her past trauma flooded her awareness, and it intensified her suicidal feelings. During our first conversation, I shared that when MDMA is taken therapeutically, it can reduce the fear of difficult emotions, and she could help move forward past her trauma. I asked her to promise not to commit suicide if we were to work together, and she agreed and made that promise. During her therapeutic sessions, Marcella was able to process her trauma more fluidly, more easily, and yet she was able to tell that the rapist had told her that if she ever shared her story, he would kill her. And she realized that that was keeping her a prisoner in her own mind. And so being able to share the story and experience the feelings and the thoughts in her mind freed her. And she was able to decide that she wanted to move forward with her life. And in that moment, I realized that MDMA could be very effective for treating PTSD. Now, 35 years later, after Marcella's treatment, she's actually a therapist training other therapists to help people overcome PTSD with MDMA. Now, how does MDMA work? How did MDMA help Marcella? People who have PTSD have brains that are different from those of us who don't have PTSD. They have a hyperactive amygdala where we process fear. They have reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex where we think logically, and they have reduced activity in the hippocampus where we store our memories into long-term storage. MDMA changes the brain in the opposite way. MDMA reduces activity in the amygdala, increases activity in the frontal cortex, and increases connectivity between the amygdala and the hippocampus to permit traumatic memories to move into long-term storage. Recently, researchers at Johns Hopkins published a paper in Nature in which they demonstrated that MDMA releases oxytocin, the hormone of love and nurturing. These same researchers also did studies in octopuses who are normally asocial unless it's mating season. But lo and behold, you give them MDMA and they become pro-social. Several months after Marcella and I worked together, the Drug Enforcement Administration moved to criminalize ecstasy, having no knowledge of its therapeutic use. So I went to Washington and I went into the headquarters of the Drug Enforcement Administration and I filed a lawsuit demanding a hearing at which psychiatrists and psychotherapists would be able to present information about therapeutic use of MDMA to try to keep it legal. And in the middle of the hearing, the DEA freaked out, declared an emergency, and criminalized all uses of MDMA. And so the only way that I could see to bring it back was through science, through medicine, and through the FDA drug development process. So in 1986, I started MAPS as a non-profit psychedelic pharmaceutical company. It took us 30 years till 2016 to develop the data that we needed to present to FDA to request permission to move into the large-scale phase 3 studies that are required to prove safety and efficacy before you get approval for prescription use. Tony was a veteran in one of our pilot studies. According to the Veterans Administration, there's over 1 million veterans now disabled with PTSD. And at least 20 veterans a day are committing suicide, many of them from PTSD. The treatment that Tony was to receive was 3.5 months long. But during that period of time, he would only get MDMA on 3 occasions, separated by 12 90-minute non-drug psychotherapy sessions, 3 before the first MDMA session for preparation and 3 after each MDMA session for integration. We call our treatment approach inner-directed therapy, in that we support the patient to experience whatever is emerging within their minds or their bodies. Even with MDMA, this is hard work. And a lot of our subjects have said, I don't know why they call this ecstasy. During Tony's first MDMA session, he lay on a couch, he had eye shades on, he listened to music, and he would speak to the therapists, who were a male-female co-therapy team, whenever he felt that he needed to. After several hours, in a moment of calmness and clarity, Tony shared that he had realized that his PTSD was a way of connecting him to his friends. It was a way of honoring the memory of his friends who had died. But he was able to shift and see himself through the eyes of his dead friends. And he realized that they would not want him to suffer, to squander his life. They would want him to live more fully, which they were unable to do. And so he realized that there was a new way to honor their memory, which was to live as fully as possible. He also realized that he was telling himself a story, that he was taking opiates for pain, but actually he realized he was taking them for escape. And so he decided he didn't need the opiates anymore, he didn't need the MDMA anymore, and he was dropping out of the study. That was 7 years ago. Tony is still free of PTSD, has never returned to opiates.
Oh, Desjon, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So anything you want to add on?
Yeah, I want to share an article that I actually have. See if I can share it.
Okay. You can hit the share button at the bottom.
All right. Okay, I hit share. Okay, share screen.
Yeah.
How would I share the actual article?
So you hit the share. Right. Hold on. Let me get off here. You hit the share.
Mm-hmm.
And then where it says share screen. I don't know what type of computer you have. You can either go to your window or you can go to the tab on your computer, and it should be able to show up the article. You should, and when you see the tab, yeah, you click on the article and it'll show up.
All right. Okay. Okay, let's see. Share screen.
Yeah, it should say entire screen, window, and whatever your tab is.
All right, do you see it?
No, I don't see it yet. Did you hit share? Hit the share button at the bottom.
Share. Okay, share audio.
And then you see what says entire screen.
Window.
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay, cool.
Can you see it?
All right. Yeah, I see it. Let me go ahead and add it on. All right. All right.
All right. It says a mystical psychedelic compound found in normal brains. It says a study in rats had revealed the presence of a natural occurring DMT, an increasingly popular hallucinogen. In the past few years, thrill seekers from Hollywood, Silicon Valley, and beyond have been traveling to South America to take part in so-called ayahuasca retreats. Their goal to partake in a brewed concoction made from a vine plant, Banisteriopsis caapi, traditionally used by indigenous people from sacred religious ceremonies. Drinkers of ayahuasca experience short-term hallucinogen episodes many describe as life-changing. It said the active ingredient responsible for these psychedelic visions is a molecule called dimethyltryptamine, DMT. For the first time, a team led by Michigan Medicine has discovered that widespread presence of naturally occurring DMT in the mammalian brain. The finding is the first step towards studying DMT and figuring out its role within the brains of humans. DMT is not just in plants, but it also can be detected in the mammals, said Jimo Borgesian, PhD of the Department of Molecular Integrative Physiology. Her interest in DMT came about accidentally. Before studying the psychedelic, her research focused on melatonin production in the pineal gland. In the 17th century, the philosopher René Descartes claimed that the pineal gland, a small pine cone-shaped organ located deep in the center of the brain, was the seat of the soul. Since its discovery, the pineal gland, known by some as the third eye, has been shrouded in mystery. Scientists now know it controls the production of melatonin, playing an important role in modulating circadian rhythms or the body's internal clock. However, online search for notes include in the course she was teaching opened Borgesian's eyes to a thriving community, still convinced the pineal gland's mystical power. The core idea seems to come from a documentary featuring the work of researcher Rick Strassman, MD with the University of New Mexico School of Medicine. In the mid-1990s, he conducted an experiment in which human subjects were given DMT by IV injection. An interview after its effect wore off. In a documentary about this experiment, Strassman claims that he believed the pineal gland makes and secretes DMT. It said, I said to myself, wait, I've worked on the pineal gland for years, never heard of this, she said. She contacted Strassman, requesting the source of his statement. When Strassman admitted that it was just a hypothesis, Borgesian suggested they worked together to test it. I thought if DMT was an indigenous monoamine, it should be very easy to detect using a fluorescence detector. Using the process in which myodialysis tubing is inserted into the rat brain through the pineal gland, the researcher collected the sample that was analyzed for and confirmed the presence of DMT. That experiment resulted in a paper published in 2013. However, Borgesian was not satisfied, and that she sought to discover how and where DMT was synthesized. Her graduate student, John Dean, lead author of the paper, set up an experiment using the process called in situ hybridization, which uses a labeled complementary strand of DNA to locate a specific RNA sequence in the tissue section. With this technique, we found brain neurons with two enzymes required to make DMT, said Borgesian, and they were not just in the pineal gland. They are also found in other parts of the brain, including the neocortex and hippocampus, that are important for higher order brain function, including learning and memory. The results are published in the journal Scientific Reports. Her team's work also revealed that the levels of DMT increased in some rats experiencing cardiac arrest. A paper published in 2018 by researchers in the UK purported that DMT stimulates the near-death experience, wherein people report the sensation of transcending their bodies and entering another realm. Borgesian hopes to probe further to discover the function of naturally occurring levels of DMT in the brain, and what, if any, roles it plays in normal brain functions. We don't know what it's doing in the brain. All we're saying is we're discovering the neurons that makes this chemical in the brain, and they do so at levels similar to other monoamine neurotransmitters. So that article is basically talking about how DMT is basically how they use rats to discover it naturally being found in the brain. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that's a very interesting article. For it to be a scientific studies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can believe that, as far as the brain alteration is concerned and how it does have the effects and whatnot. But it's just surprising that it has not been FDA approved. That's the surprising part about it. And that's surprising. But it's funny that the other drugs that does a lot more harmful effects are FDA approved, but Desjon, I'm sorry, this is kind of off subject. Someone had a question. Are you a Hebrew Israelite, or you was a former Hebrew Israelite? Cause your last name.
Well, I'm a former Hebrew Israelite. Like I said, I'm spiritual. I don't really study. I just study all types of belief systems, spiritual systems. I don't really confine myself to a specific doctrine.
Okay. All right. I hope that answered the question, Chris. if you still watching. I hope that answer your question. But
that my man
anyway,
Chris Harris.
Yeah, that's Chris Harris. Yeah, but
Yo, what's going on, Chris? Yeah, I used to talk to him from time to time.
Yeah. But his real name is Anthony. But yeah, he used his real name. But but yeah, he was one. Yeah, he was wondering if you was an Israelite because he seen your last name. That's all. But But anyways, getting back to the point. Yeah, I'm surprised these things are not FDA approved. But it's funny that other drugs are, especially drugs like Percocets, because Percocets are also used in the medical, like for like painkillers and stuff like that. And and so many morphine, morphine. They use the morphine medicine when you get those IV tubes stuck in you. So, but yeah, it just seems to amaze me. But there's all type of scientific research on it, but it's not put out on the market. In the pharmaceutical companies for as a safe alternatives, but then we got an ongoing issue of people using opium, right? And which comes from these companies that produces the opiums, and they put them out on the market, and now people getting hooked on it. And it's a crisis. So, speaking of the topic about opium, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the serious crisis, the addiction that people have to them?
Well, I feel as though they consider the crisis when a certain ethnicity, like quote unquote white people, suffer from opium addiction on opiates and so forth. But when it comes to them when it comes to crack cocaine, they want to consider it as an epidemic, like as it's something real serious, like say no to drugs and so forth. Some people might know, some people might not know that, like they were using drug profits to basically fund the illegal war in Nicaragua against the Sandinista government, and that's what the late journalist Gary Webb. If you read his book Dark Alliance, I recommend that you get that book because he definitely goes into detail. He elaborates more on how they was using illegal drug funds, to legal drug money to fund the legal war in Nicaragua. So I feel as though it's definitely I think though it's definitely racially motivated when it comes to like considering opiates to be a crisis, but when it comes to crack cocaine, it's all of a sudden an epidemic.
Well, I mean, it's not just white people that's addicted to opium. It's also black people.
It's blacks that's addicted to opium as well. I mean, like I said, you had John Coltrane, you had Miles Davis, you had certain jazz artists that was addicted to heroin back during back in the 50s and the 60s. So, and I think that a lot of them really use it probably to help tap more into their creativity when they were making their music. But I just don't feel how they still using morphine in the hospitals when it comes from the same poppy plant as opium and the heroin.
Yeah. Well, see, a lot of these drugs that's on the street, that's how they started off in the pharmaceutical and medical industry. Like, for example, when the first invention of the Coke products like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, when they first came in, they started off as medicine, over-the-counter medicine. They was used in a pharmaceutical purpose. So it wasn't until later on they became soft drinks for people to enjoy, but they were just pharmaceutical medicine, over-the-counter medicine. And so, and those products were cocaine. And so seeing that cocaine had so much effects on people, getting people hyper and just making, just doing all kinds of stuff to them, that's when the companies decided, all right, well, it's time to get rid of the cocaine because we see what the cocaine is doing and what type of effects it's doing to people. Now let's replace it with caffeine. So caffeine has become the replacement of cocaine, just like heroin was used in the medical industry for the IV medicines, and then they replaced heroin with morphine because they said heroin was getting people, dizzy, drugged out, whatever the case maybe. It was doing serious harmful effects to people, to where they said, all right, we're gonna have to get rid of heroin and we're gonna have to put morphine in here, and it's just so many other. And then, like I said, the Percocets that's used as painkillers, but people create their own street version of Percocet where people just pop them and popping these pills and whatnot. And then you even got rappers like Future talking about Percocet, mask off, and all of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, but you know, yeah, these drugs that we know of, as we know them, they started off on that level in the pharmaceutical and medical industry. And when the medical industry decided that, hey, we no longer need these drugs, or these drugs are not really helpful, they're more harmful, then they became illegal. And you already know about crack. Crack ain't nothing more than a solid form of cocaine. That's all it is. So, but yeah, I don't. From what it sounds like to me, I don't see anything bad about psychedelics or LSD. From what it sounds like to me, it doesn't do a serious harmful effect on an individual. It doesn't like put them in a tirade of suicide, or it doesn't cause them to like be hospitalized for a long period of time, or go through a period of weight loss, or some type of serious illness or anything like that. I don't know if I could say that it's similar to weed because I never smoked weed myself, but that's what it sounds like. It would just be like something similar to marijuana, and marijuana doesn't do a serious harmful effect on individuals either. Now, it may make a person cough, then may make a person sleep. Now, if you put something in the marijuana, like if you put some cocaine in there, what they call it woo-la woo-woo, or if you mix some type of sherm, which is the embalming fluid they use for dead bodies, and you put it in the marijuana, then that's a different story. But the marijuana itself doesn't seem to do a serious effect. I mean, I've been around people that smoke marijuana, and I see them get high, and then they still function. But the only thing is, their eyes turn red, the eyes get low, they might be somewhere sleeping. But then when they get back up, they go back to their normal selves like it's nothing. Like it. I mean, I never heard nobody really being hospitalized. I never heard anybody getting real sick. I mean, I never saw any statistics behind it, but I do know that cigarettes does more damage than any of them. Cigarette can cause cancer. Cigarette can cause lung disease, Down syndromes. Even when we drink alcohol, I drink alcohol every now and then, but alcohol has a serious effect than marijuana. I mean, alcohol can cause you to have bad kidneys, and it messes up your liver, which one of the reasons why people get on dialysis. Alcohol can make you sick. Alcohol can make you lose weight. So it's very amazing to me how the system really operates and how it works. But do you have anything else you want to say before I present some book?
I wanted to touch more on the marijuana situation because, like I was telling you earlier, I think his name Harry Anslinger or so forth, and William Randolph Hearst, they really legislated and lobbied to make marijuana illegal. Like I stated before, it basically made it will put the paper and petroleum companies out of business, because you know that hemp actually is very durable. It can actually you can use it for fuel and use it for clothes and so forth. And they the actual who they call the founding fathers actually were using hemp to make paper. And also, you know that in the endocannabinoids is actually found in breast milk for women.
And what's in the cannabis that's found in breast milk?
Endocannabinoids. That's what it's called.
How you spell it?
I think it's ENDOCABA.
Oh, I think it's endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look that up. And let me see. And you say it's found in the breast milk?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see this. Let me check that out. Let me check that out. So Okay, so wait a minute. Uh-oh. I found something here. Uh-oh. 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 Okay, so it says here that the endocannabinoids in human breast milk are important for human development, but not present in cannabis. And then they said that the claim is inaccurate. And the detail why it says human breast milk does not contain the same cannabinoids as the cannabis plant fails to grasp significant observation. A study by Dehar ETAL cited in support of this claim did find improved behavior scores in babies breastfed by mothers who used cannabis, but this was actually attributed to the higher socioeconomic status of these mothers, not to cannabis exposure itself, as the article claims. That's interesting. And okay, and then where the information you got yours from?
Let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
Okay. Because I never heard that, but that article saying that that's not necessarily true. Okay.
All right. Looking for. Okay.
All
right. I found it.
Okay, cool.
All right, let me go and share my screen. It's from the Natural News. Can you see it?
Let's see. Yes, I can see it.
All right. It said cannabinoids like those found in marijuana occur naturally in human breast milk. Natural News, it says, woven into the fabric of the human body is an intricate system of proteins known as cannabinoid receptors that are specifically designed to process cannabinoids such as tetrahydrocannabinol, THC1, the primary active components of marijuana. And it turns out, based on the findings of several major scientific studies, that human breast milk naturally contains many of the same cannabinoids found in marijuana, which are extremely vital for proper human development. Cell membranes in the body are naturally equipped with these cannabinoid receptors, which, when activated by cannabinoids and various other nutritive substances, protect cells against viruses, harmful bacteria, cancer, and other malignancies. And human breast milk is an abundant source of endocannabinoids, a special type of neuromodulatory lipid that basically teaches the newborn child how to eat by stimulating the suckling process. If it were not for these cannabinoids in breast milk, newborn children would not know how to eat, nor would they necessarily have a desire to eat, which could result in severe malnourishment and even death. Believe it or not, the process is similar to how adults, individuals who smoke pot get the munchies, as newborn children who are breastfed naturally receive doses of cannabinoids that trigger hunger and promote growth and development. Endocannabinoids have been detected in maternal milk and activation of CB1, cannabinoid receptor type 1. Receptors appear to be critical for milk sucking, apparently activating oral motor musculature, saying the abstract of a 2004 study of the endocannabinoid receptor system that was published in the European Journal of Pharmacology. Says the medical implication of these novel developments are far-reaching and suggests a promising future for cannabinoids and pediatric medicine for conditions including non-organic failure to thrive and cystic fibrosis. All right, it says there are two types of cannabinoid receptors in the body: the CB1 variety, which exists in the brain, and the CB2 variety, which exists in the immune system and throughout the rest of the body. Each one of these receptors responds to cannabinoids, whether it be from human breast milk in children or from juice marijuana, for instance, in adults. This essentially means that the human body was built for cannabinoids, as these nutritional substances play a critical role in protecting cells against the disease, boosting immune function, protecting the brain and nervous system, and relieving pain and disease-causing inflammation, among other things. And because science is finally catching up to discovering how this amazing cannabinoid system works, the stigma associated with marijuana use is thankfully in the process of being eliminated. In another study on the endocannabinoids published in the Journal of Pharmacology Reviews back in 2006, researchers from the Laboratory Physiologic Studies at the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism uncovered even more about the benefits of cannabinoids. These include the ability to promote proper energy metabolism and appetite regulation, treat metabolic disorders, treat multiple sclerosis, and prevent neurodegeneration, among many other conditions. Now I'm just going to read just that little part. But that right there basically signifies that human breast milk and endocannabinoids found in human breast milk.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure about that one. I'm gonna be honest. I would have to look more into it, look more depth into that to find out more. So I'm not very sure about that.
Just
understandable. But thank you for presenting that to me. I would have to look more into it because that's unheard of. So but one information claims that is not true, it's not accurate. So but the information you posted up saying that it is, I have to look into it. I have to ask some questions regarding to that. But all right, so I want to go ahead and show you guys some books that I think that that you guys might like to read. Okay, and including you, Desjon, because you might want to check into it as well, since you're into that kind of stuff. So
cool.
Let me see. Give me a second. Let me go ahead and all right. All right, so if you see this book right here, this title of the book that I posted up. All right, this title of the book is called DMT, the Spirit Molecule, a doctor's revolutionary research into biology of near-death and mystical experiences by Rick Strassman. As a matter of fact, there is a documentary on it. I can play that documentary real fast and quick. So hold on, let me play the clip real fast. It's called DMT Molecules. Let me look that up. I should have played that earlier. So Yeah, let me well, you know what? Yeah, let me play that DMT molecule spirit.
Running a business.
All right. Give me a second. Oops. All right, so here's the video. About to go ahead and play it.
This is the story of DMT, or dimethyltryptamine, a simple compound found throughout nature which has profound effects on human consciousness.
DMT, the spirit molecule. You know, it's a conundrum, it's a paradox.
DMT is astonishingly widely available in plants and animals all around the world, but so far nobody really knows why it's there.
Why is DMT in our bodies? Why is it in plants, in all sorts of mammals? What is the role it plays in humans?
And that was one of the original findings that led me to start looking for a spirit molecule, for a compound in the brain that elicited mystical experience.
What does it mean? Why is there a part of the brain that seems to be, for lack of a better word, a God detector?
I'm actually quite convinced that we're probing the biological basis of moral and ethical behavior.
Well, it's a miraculous way for us to transcend ordinary reality and obtain maybe an intimation of what's necessary for survival.
I think DMT is a forcible reminder that there's a lot more about reality, the universe, ourselves, the biosphere, whatever, that there's a lot more to it than we imagine.
Okay. Oh, that's the video to the documentary of the book that I had just briefly shown to you. So this book here, again, is called The Spirit Molecule. All right, Doctor's Revolutionary Research into Biology, Near-Death, and Mystical Experiences. That this book came out in 2001. Okay, and that documentary came out in 2010, I believe. All right. Okay. So, I mean, if you want to take a look at it and jot it down, like take some notes on it, if you want to look it up for yourself, I'll leave it up there for you.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, just so you can get the title of it. Rick Strassman. Okay. Then you got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then I have another one. I got 3 more. The next one is the electromagnetic brain. Oops. You can see that. Yeah. The Electromagnetic Brain, which is the EM Field Theories on the Nature of Consciousness by Shelley Renee Joy, PhD. And let me look at the copyright of this book. I don't see the copyright on here, but anyways, let's see. It'll probably be at the very bottom. I'm trying to see like what year this book came out. All right, here we go. All right, so this book came out in 2018 and it was renewed in 2020. All right, so, and the name of it is called The Electromagnetic Brain. So it goes into that concept about the psychedelic DMT, EM field theories on nature of consciousness. So, and then if you look at the table of content, as you can see, this with consciousness and information processing, consciousness and spatial electromagnetic patterns. It seemed like a good book. So if you're interested in looking into that, you can. Electromagnetic Brain. Right. And then this one here, is called third expanded edition psychedelic encyclopedia. So it goes into list all the psychedelics. As you see at the bottom, we got the cross section of Yejane Vine and the mushroom morning glory and the Sinsemilla marijuana flower tops, peyote, cockatus blossom, and etc. It's a whole bunch. So whatever psychedelic you want to look up or you want to find is on here in this book. This book came out in 1978, reprinted again 1983, and reprinted again 1992. So, right, but it's a encyclopedia of all the psychedelics. Right, and it was written by Peter Stafford. Peter Stafford. All right. Then I have one more book. This book was in the previous article that I had read earlier. This book right here is called Nature Fast and Nature Slow, which is how life works from fraction of a second to billions of years. Nicholas P. Money. It goes into the concept we was talking about, mushrooms and mushrooms having consciousness in some form or some form of conscious life to it. As far as like the mind is concerned, so it has its own mind, own consciousness. So it kind of goes into how nature operates, like nature fast and nature slow, etc. And how each organism has its own particular way of doing things. So it's kind of like in that panpsychism, which panpsychism deals with animated or inanimated objects and its conscious nature, or if it has some type of conscious variation to them. And then it goes into those things. It goes into those components about consciousness, nature, and organism and whatnot. All right, so it's called Nature Fast and Nature Slow, Nicholas P. Money. You guys can check that out. Also, you can look that up on Amazon or any other website. So just something that you can look into, Desjon, if you are very interested.
All right.
All right. All right. So, anything else you want to say before we go ahead and close it out?
No, I think this is a very exceptional show tonight. I'm glad that you invited me on as your guest. I'm looking forward to if you have any other like shows or topics you want to discuss. I mean, just let me know. We can definitely get it in.
Okay, cool. Yes. In the near future, I'm looking forward to bring you back on here so we can get into other subjects and other topics and whatnot. But until then, I appreciate you coming on here. I appreciate you giving me your experience, discussing your experience and what it's like for you to go through the process of deal with Ayahuasca, and I hope that other people that are watching, I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys picked up something from it. And again, you guys can look it up on YouTube. If you guys are interested in to learn about what Ayahuasca is, DMT and psychedelics, you can look it up on YouTube. As a matter of fact, there is a program on YouTube that goes into this. Look up. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna give you guys a YouTube page that you all should check out, including you, Desjon. I think you should check this out as well, because I always go to his YouTube page a lot. And this here is, if you can see it, this is called the World Science Festival. The World Science Festival deals with all type of scientific research. It deals with the research going into things it goes into all kind of scientific research. It deals with like things about psychedelics, ayahuasca, or anything like that, or anything deal with quantum physics, biology, whatever you guys are interested in. Here is the playlist. So the list of playlists on here, as you can see, goes into the mind and brain. Oops. No. I ain't trying to play all the videos. I just want to show. But anyways, it goes into the mind and the brain, and then goes into tech and engineering, science and society, art and science, earth and environment, space and the cosmos, biology and origins of life, physics and math. So anything that y'all willing to learn about, you guys can go on here. I would recommend this channel to you guys. Okay. Yeah, I recommend this channel because it deals with a lot about science. So yeah, check that out. World Science Festival. All right. But other than that, besides that, I thank you for tuning in and watching. And I thank you, Desjon, for coming through. And I hope you have a good one. And again, I hope that we could reconnect soon. So in the future. All right. All right, Dan. So take it easy on yourself. Be careful.
All right, you saying peace.
All right, peace. All right, you guys. I'm gonna talk to y'all later. With that being said, this is your girl Tiffany, and I'm logging off. Peace and power, elevation. Be to all of you.